Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the Craft Live Hangout, your monthly update of everything beekeeping. And today we're a little bit short-staffed. In fact, it's a bit of a shame. We've had some late sort of people not being able to join us, and we've got some technical things, and so very regretfully, there's just the boring three of us, isn't it? And
Speak for yourself, James.
And I tell you, little secret, I'm in the middle of a great big conference facility. Now I'm probably going to get some very sort of mean-looking security guard coming over my back shoulder any minute who's going to get in the way and interrupt things. But I'll try not to let that put me off. But this is, as I said, this is Craft Live. So basically the whole point on this is that you guys can ask questions to us. We can have a chat about things, everything to do with beekeeping. And obviously we're in the sort of the peak period at the minute for the beekeeping year. And what I just want to try and do, if I can, is I'm just going to screen share a second. You might see many of me for the minute. Let's just make sure I get the right one. Here we go. And I'm just going to quickly switch over to the Beecroft page. Of me for the minute. Let's just make sure I get the right one. Here we go. Turn that off. So what you'll see is, if you're on the Beecroft page watching this, you'll see my ugly mug sort of sitting here, and basically underneath here you've got the ask a question box. So please do, if you want to ask a question, tick on this little box, and you can enter your name and email and pop a question in here, and we'll be more than happy to ask that as we're going. So let me just switch back. And while I do that, so Wendy, do you want to just introduce yourself, and Rodri, do you want to just mention who you are and what you're doing with Beecraft?
Right, I'm Wendy, and I'm the Deputy Marketing Manager, so I have the pleasure of working with James, and I deal mainly with the associations, emailing, well, associations and individuals, emailing you once a month to remind you about the Hangouts, and giving you any information that's new, informative, special offers, and basically keeping in touch with everybody. So I'm always pleased to receive emails on any topic to do with beekeeping, of course, and if I don't know the answer, which that obviously can happen, I'm not an expert, as in I've not been doing it that long, but I do have a lot of hives, so I've seen a lot of situations. But if I don't know the answer, then I will find out and get back to you, or point you in the right direction of someone who can help.
Yeah, I think that's the point, isn't it, to be honest? Because obviously with Beecraft, a lot of us are beekeepers, and there's a lot of master beekeepers amongst us, and so what the idea of these hangouts actually quite often is actually we generally have a lot of the master beekeepers coming in to give their advice and everything. So, Rodri, do you just want to sort of let everybody know a little bit about you?
Yep, I'm Rodri. I'm the South Wales representative of Beecraft. I've been keeping bees around about 8 years, I think. I lose track, actually. Same as Wendy, I'll help where I can, and if I don't know the answer, we'll feed back.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's just sort of. I'm just going to run through a few of the questions. I mean, crikey, we've actually had more questions before a hangout than ever before. So we sort of use this as a Q&A experience where people can just sort of put what they want to do, sort of questions they want to ask to us. We've had one from Ken looking at whether we can use our website as a sort of an area for people to find out where they can take swarms, as the BBKA does at the minute. Ken, great idea. My argument is the BBKA actually already do that, and they actually do it really, really well. So I don't know if that would just confuse people. So I think that's an interesting point, something that we'll definitely look at.
Can I just say on that, James, on that particular one, James, that I had I dropped Pauline and our website guys a quick email today about that. And the main issue, I mean, as you say, the BBKA do it, but the main issue is that we're not in a situation to be able to keep that up to date, and to try and rely on people in associations to do that is not an easy thing to do, because people do forget to take their names off when they're no longer doing it. So it's quite a difficult thing. I mean, it may well be thought of at a later stage, but at the moment I don't think it's appropriate. But I am quite happy if anybody in a particular county has an issue. I can easily email out my contacts in that county and ask if they are able to refer anybody to collect a swarm.
Okay.
So I can help in that way. Not every day, though, please.
It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, if there's somebody already doing it very, very well, it's not something we want to necessarily duplicate for that reason. But okay, let's just sort of go through a couple of the other ones. Mina, thank you ever so much for all of your emails coming through. You've actually sent a couple of questions in. And I think we're finding this a lot at the minute. We've got a few sort of fairly inexperienced beekeepers, as Mina describes herself. And they're worried about the sort of we're coming into this swarming season. So she's put here, I don't know if you guys have got any suggestions. She said, as a fairly inexperienced beekeeper, we could do with some help. 2 weeks ago, we started the artificial swarm procedure. 1 week later, we removed a large capped queen cell from the original queen's present colony. 1 week and 1 day later, in the same queen-right brood box, there were several more queen cells, 3 capped, and the original queen. We have proceeded again as for an artificial swarm, and have then removed capped queen cells from the unqueened colony, leaving a couple of uncapped ones. Was this the right way to proceed? Whew, quite a detailed one.
You try and get your head around that. I was trying to work it out bit by bit then.
Yeah. My first reaction is that because, Mina, you went back... Sorry, I'm looking at your... on another screen, what you said. Because you went back into the queen white brood box and there were queen cells there, and as well as the queen, I would think that when you did your artificial swarm procedure, you left frames of brood and everything in the original queen's box. So if you do that, if you're taking bees away, you need to, or taking, sorry, you're taking cells away, you need to make the queen think that she has swarmed. And what I would do in that circumstance is take out all the brood that I could, just keeping perhaps 1 frame of eggs in there to keep her in there, and frame of pollen and stores, but put the rest of the foundation in, so that she actually thinks she swarmed, and that the bees will go out. And what they've got to do, they've got a busy time now because they have to build up that foundation for the queen to lay in. So you may go through a period where there isn't much laying going on by the queen, but that would be the way that I would approach it in order to try and stop the production of many more queen cells. Let her think she swarmed. That's
the whole thing, isn't it? You've got to make the queen think that they've actually swarmed. Have you got anything to add to that, Rodri? I mean, that's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah. I think, how many queen cells were there again? Because it could be a case of supersedure of the original queen.
That's true.
If she was starting to fail, and if there was, say, 3 to 5 queen cells, then that could indicate supersedure rather than a tendency to swarm.
Yeah, there are several more, 3 capped and the original queen. So there's quite a few.
Yeah. The original one was 1 large capped queen cell, which I think is obviously what was taken away in the first artificial swarm. And then after that, there were several more queen cells, 3 capped. So there's quite a number there.
Well, I think one of the big problems with artificial swarming, I think we're all going to find, is that it's quite a complicated procedure to describe, let alone to do. I think that's a real problem that a lot of sort of the inexperienced beekeepers have. Now, one of the best recommendations that I can do is go onto YouTube, search for how to perform an artificial swarm, and many years ago, I think 5 or 6 years ago, I actually did a video with tiny little miniature hives, and I think save 1 slip of a word. I said the wrong word. I think that's about as accurate a demonstration of how to perform an artificial swarm that you will see using tiny little miniature hives, and I think that would be the best thing that hopefully will help you out, Mina, in that respect. So
I've seen that video, and I've got to say it is very useful. It's very clear. It's easier to see the miniature hives in front of you. You can manipulate the little frames, and you can see what's going on to understand it. So yeah, it's a brilliant video. Highly recommend it.
With my fat thumb.
Yeah.
Well, all right, let's go.
I think, James, there's a second part to that question, actually, about going into the unqueened colony, the one, I'm assuming the one where the initial queen cell was put.
Okay.
I'm assuming that was the case, that they've gone in and removed the capped queen cells from the unqueened colony, leaving a couple of uncapped ones. As long as the uncapped ones are charged, I would be inclined to leave 2 charged ones as opposed to sealed ones.
And just to extend that, Wendy, just for those inexperienced ones out there, obviously, you know, cells grow everywhere. They're put everywhere. Which ones would you sort of choose over others, if that makes sense? So would you put them in the middle? Would you put them from the side? Would you put them from the bottom? Because obviously they come everywhere on the frame.
I would always go by the size and shape of the queen cell. If it's a nice, well-developed queen cell with with a larva in the base of it, then it's a good indication you're going to get a nice, well-developed queen rather than a stunted queen. So
yeah, I would agree with that, because the more queen cells they make, the smaller they seem to get. I don't know if that's the same, if everybody else feels the same, but that's how I view it. So I would go for as Rodri said, the ones that look the nicest, that look the biggest, just well presented.
Okay, well, let's carry on this whole thing about the queen cells again, because Lewis had put a question in a couple of hours saying, I made a split of uncapped queen cells into a nuke. How long after this would you recommend before I open it again to check progress re any new queen? What are your thoughts on that?
Go on, Rodri.
Sorry, could you say that again? It was cracking up a bit and I couldn't quite make it out.
I made a split of uncapped queen cells into a nuke. How long after this would you recommend before I open it again to check the progress of the nuke?
I would leave it at least 14 days before you go to inspect it again. That'll give the chance for the queen to lay, for it to be mated, and you should see an indication then. But hopefully she'll be starting to lay within 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a charged queen cell that's been left, I would leave it at least 14 days, possibly even as long as 21.
Yeah.
The longer you leave them, the more undisturbed the bees are. I think the better they perform.
And it all depends on the weather as well. If you've got good weather conditions, then there's a better chance that the queen will be more successfully mated. Whereas if you've got wet or cold weather, like we've had this spring so far, then it could extend that period for it to go out and get a chance to go out on mating flights. So.
Yeah.
Okay, just us here, I'm muting you guys when we're not speaking, just to sort of remove some of the echo in the background, in case anybody's getting any of the echo. We apologise for that. Sometimes we get it, we're not wearing, I didn't bring the new place. Apologies on that. But anyway, Lewis, I hope that helped you answer that question there. So, my word, there's an amazing amount of questions coming in. So let's just see if we can get through some of these. Okay. All right, this is a relatively straightforward one, I think, from Stephen. Thanks for putting this through. What's the group's opinion on running 2 queen hives? That is, 2 brood boxes separated by 2 supers and a queen excluder. I've never done that. Have any of you guys done that?
It's not something that I've done, to be honest. I've always wanted to try it, because I should imagine it's very good for honey production. You'd have an incredibly strong colony with a massive foraging force. But it's not something I've tried.
No, I haven't. And Stephen, if you're still here watching this, please let us know how you found it. I'd love to sort of communicate that through, because I definitely haven't. But like you said, Rodri, I mean, the amount of honey you get out of that would be quite impressive. But I imagine it's also quite a logistical difficulty as well.
I should imagine it's very difficult to inspect, because you'd have to split it down and you'd have to make sure it's reassembled correctly as well. So, yeah, the logistics of that would be a nightmare.
Fascinated by it. And actually, anybody else watching, so I know there's quite a few of you watching this live now, if you've done that, please let us know if you found any success with that. I mean, Wendy, I don't think you've probably dealt with that from my knowledge of how you run your hives, have you, with the poly hives as well? So I don't think I'm just going to...
Yeah, I've done 2... am I muted?
No, you're all right. You're being happy.
No, I mean, I've run double brood box hives, but I've never done that way around. I have used, and I can't think what they call it, but it's something that we put in above the top brood box, a queen excluder, and a board to prevent sort of pheromone transference. And so we had 2 entrances. So we had an entrance at the bottom of the brood box for the forager still to go in with the original queen, leaving the original queen in the bottom. But then we put a frame of eggs, not eggs. We did some grafting,
Okay.
and we used the top of that hive because it was very strong. So we used the top half where the bees were going in actual to try and get them to create the queen cells above the brood box. So effectively, they've still got a queen, but they actually, a lot of them go in the top directly in the top entrance, and hopefully create queens for you. And that's on use a frame with the queen cups. So you graft your larvae in, or you cut them out from a cell and put them in. But that's all I've done with minor success. But yeah, 2 queens.
Sounds like the art of queen rearing there. I know queen rearing is a very difficult task, and a lot of people do different methods. But that sounds quite interesting.
Yeah, it does. Well, maybe we can do something on that, because I know there's actually been some people. In fact, you guys can mute your microphones up. Great. There we are, it's all gone now. So I think one of the things that we are looking at doing is running a hangout on that sort of stuff to talk about sort of how queen grafting can work, because I know there's a lot of people in the more advanced stakes of beekeeping that would definitely be interested in that. But I want to just bring back, there's, who is it? I've got lots of Kevs and Kens who are asking questions in, but I just want to mention, who is it? Dean, who's only just subscribed to Beecraft. So Dean, thanks for that. Very new to the world of beekeeping. I am 3 weeks into my course and getting your Nuka bees in the next 2 weeks. It's all very daunting. I remember the feeling very, very well. But I'm with the support of yourselves and my local beekeeper group at Easton and Otley College. I will succeed. I'm sure you will. Dean, enjoy these times, mate. You'll have a nice time. It is good fun, and you'll suddenly get very, very obsessed with it very, very quickly. So welcome. What I'd just like to do is focus on a bit of the honey side, because obviously at the minute we're talking a lot about swarming, because swarming is obviously very prevalent at this time of year. But equally, we move into the sort of the period where some beekeepers in the country are actually very fortunate in taking their first crop of honey. And we've got a few questions around here. I'm actually lucky. I haven't got oilseed rape, which is what the questions are. I've got a lot of sort of orchards around me, but I've had a Kev and a Ken talking about oilseed rape. Now, Rodri, I know you've got a lot of experience around this, so hopefully these questions you might be able to help these guys with. So let's just go through a couple of them. One of the first questions we had from before. All right, this is coming in from Diane, who says, spinning honey from oilseed rape. Having 4 hives, I take the frames off individually as soon as they have ripened. Can I keep them in a warming cabinet at 34 degrees until I have enough frames to fill my spinner? Or can you suggest an alternative way of keeping the frames of oilseed rape honey for a couple of days or so? Any thoughts on that?
It's a very difficult one to control, oilseed rape. Once it starts to set, you'll find that it sets solid overnight.
With a warming tray as well, Rodri, in your experience?
Yeah, if you've got the ability to keep it warm, so if the outside weather temperature is very warm, then the honey tends to stay liquid for longer in the hive. So in theory, if you could use a warming cabinet to keep those frames at the sort of a similar temperature as the hives, around about 34 degrees, then that should extend the amount of time it takes to granulate. So in theory, that would make sense. My personal way of doing it is I tend to take the honey off the bees slightly earlier. So I don't wait until the cells are capped. I go along with my refractometer and test the water content of the frames. And as long as that's below 19%, I'll extract it early then. So it ensures that I've got liquid honey. Because once you get 1 or 2 cells starting to granulate, you can guarantee that there's a lot more that are going to turn within the next few days.
Absolutely, and sort of following on, Kev in this case is actually said to soften oilseed rape, how hot should I need the warmer to be? Now, Diane quoted 34 degrees. Have you got any sort of variation on that at all, Rodri, or not?
I would go slightly higher. It depends how, when you say soft, do you want to just soften it or re-liquefy it? If you want to re-liquefy it, you obviously need to heat it at around about 40 degrees, I'd say. But if you keep it around 34 to 40, it'll be in a sort of, call it a soft set consistency.
Because obviously there are challenges just for people who are fairly new to this. Again, there are challenges of overheating your honey, which is obviously
that's a different field all in itself. It is a very difficult honey to control because you've got certain varieties of oilseed rape will set brick hard. I remember leaving a spoon in one jar of honey and it set in solid, and I physically couldn't get the spoon out of the honey. Where I've taken the bees to the oilseed rape another time, and I've almost had a creamed honey without doing any manipulation. So whether that's a different strain of oilseed rape or there's other nectars mixed in with it. So it's
well, I'll tell you what, let's just pick up on that question. Let's explore that for a second, because I know a lot of people, a few people like oilseed rape honey. I don't know many, but some people like exclusive oilseed rape honey.
I like it. I love it. It's brilliant. Yeah. So I find it's a nice show honey. To be honest, a lot of people say it hasn't got a very floral taste to it. It's very sweet, but I like it. Yeah. I know quite a few people that like it as well. Actually,
I don't. Wendy, are you there?
I'm here. Yes, listening intently to Rodri, because oilseed rape is a real pain for me, and it's not my favourite honey. It is very sweet, but yeah, not my favourite. But with I mean, when Rodri's saying about when the honey's ripened, do you use the shake test? Because I don't know, somewhere I read that if you actually shake the frame, an uncapped frame, if you shake it and no nectar comes out, then that's ready for extraction. Would you say that's about right, or would you say that's getting a bit late?
No, that does work, and I have used it, but I tend not to use the shake test on the oilseed rape. I find that the bees get not aggressive, but they get in a frenzy almost, because the flow of nectar is very intense. So if you shake the frame and splash a lot of honey about, you could encourage a bit of robbing. So I tend to use a refractometer, more controlled, more accurate as well.
Yeah, the other thing that I've done with oilseed rape, and I'm really struggling with it, to be fair, we extracted some and put it straight into buckets, and it's set, and we softened it again, and then mixed in some other honey to prevent it from setting rock hard, and blended that all together, which we thought we did it once actually, and we had the most beautiful creamed honey. We've done it since, and the honey's actually it's split. I've got on the top, I've got a lovely piece of basically pure white. I mean, it all looks beautifully creamed when you've done it, and then you get a layer about an inch thick on the top when it starts to settle, and gradually as you go down through the pot it becomes more and more granular. I mean, it looks really weird, tastes okay, tastes really nice, but I'm just wondering, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not able to get nice creamed honey like you're talking about, Rodri?
Yeah, I've seen it like that before, to be honest. It's I've seen it where you've got a jar of honey, there's almost veins growing through the honey. So you've got the oilseed which is starting to granulate, and you've got the liquid honey surrounding it then. It sounds like, to be honest, it just hasn't been thoroughly mixed enough. When you cream the honey, you need to keep the amount of air you introduce to a minimum, but cream it very, very thoroughly. So I would use, say, a 30-pound bucket of summer blossom honey, and then add around about 10% oilseed rape honey. So you use the oilseed rape honey as a seed. So then that causes the summer blossom to granulate. You get a very fine texture and a nice honey for showing then as well. So. I think Wendy's trying to say something.
He's just amazed at how amazing it is that she's forgotten to unmute herself.
Yeah.
And congratulate you on her now show-stoppingly winning creamed honey.
There, she'll be in the honey show. Look, there we are. We see it at the honey show.
Are you there, Win?
Sorry, are you waiting for me to say something?
Yeah, because you were saying something. You have to say thank you. You had it all. No, we didn't.
Oh well, I mean, I think that's probably something that I'll have to try. I think what I've done is have the bulk of oilseed rape honey and just a small amount of another honey, which I've assumed the smaller amount was the seed. So I've been doing it back to front. So thank you for that, Rodri. I shall give that a try and watch out at the National Honey Show then.
Yeah. Another thing I've tried as well.
Let's do that. Let's have Rodri against Wendy next National Honey Show. Look, let's just move on because I'm conscious of time, because equally in this venue where I'm at, I'm probably about to get thrown out. So just a quick question, because actually it's very pertinent to what you've just said there, Rodri. Julian has just answered, asked, can you recommend a refractometer? Do we need any brick scales or just water in honey?
To be honest, you can spend vast amount of money on refractometers through the beekeeping suppliers. My refractometer I purchased off eBay for, I think it was around about £40, and it's quite adequate for what I use it for. You just got to ensure that they are calibrated. As long as it shows the percentage of water in the honey, then it's fine to use.
Okie doke. All right, pretty good. Right, let's just get through a couple of other questions that have come in. So Julian's agreed about the 2 brood thing, which is interesting. Oh, okay. And a single flow hive super. We haven't even touched the flow hive, which seems to have been taking deliveries in the UK at the minute. I'm quite fascinated. I know a few people who've taken delivery of one. I'm quite looking forward to reporting back on how that goes.
I wonder how the oilseed rape will work in that. So
yes, we shall see, won't we? We shall see. I tell you what, I'm all for innovation. I'm all for new things. I'm all for giving things a go, and I won't have an opinion until I've tried them. But there is no way in this world that flow hive and oilseed rape will ever work. Let's just have a little look. Okay, give me 2 minutes. Yeah. Okay, I thought I was about to be thrown out of the conference, and I am. So I'm going to go any second. Let me just bring one last thing. Just a question here from Kate about clearer boards. Which clearer board methods would the group recommend? Have you got any ideas, guys?
I've tried porta bee escapes. I tend to find that they get blocked very easy, so I switched over to the rhombus bee escapes. I find they clear very quickly and they're very effective. I also know somebody who tried the Canadian escapes, the little red ones that go under a deeper board, and they work similar to rhombus. So.
Well, we've tried the rhombus, but if you leave them on too long, then the bees actually find their way back in again. So that's something you really have to be, hot on the timing. Don't leave it on for any longer than 24 hours. To be fair, I mean, 2 of us usually go to extract, and we tend to have an empty box on it. We'll have a big black trays. We'll have an empty super or brood box, whichever one we've used as a honey collector, and we'll brush the bees off back into the hive and take the frames away, put them into the empty box, and put a roof on. We do it that way, and to be honest, that seems to be. It's a bit time consuming, but actually you do it all in the one day. You get there and do it. What we did contemplate was a lot of people use blowers to blow them out, and I actually think that's pretty harsh on the bees. So I'd rather take a little bit more time and gently brush them off than get something that power washes them off almost.
There's so many different methods out there. You can choose what suits your style of beekeeping, really. Experiment. You'll find one which you find you're comfortable to use.
I think that's it, isn't it? There's no real right or wrong. It's just trial and error and sort of seeing what you prefer. Let's just do one last question, because I'm actually quite interested, and I saved it till last because it does affect me, and I have to be honest, because I've literally not been reading around an awful lot. I haven't seen this, but it's a question from Yvonne. About your thoughts about the current media frenzy over the Asian hornet, which has supposedly landed in the south. Now, through total naivety, I hadn't read much around this. I don't know if you guys have. Have you seen it? I mean, obviously it's been talked about for years and years and years and years, but I wasn't aware it just happened. Have you heard anything?
I've seen a few posts on social media. I don't know. I wouldn't trust social media most of the time. I think if the Asian hornet was in the country at the moment, I think the NBU and the Centre for Ecology would have notified us as the the responsible authority. So
yeah, I think that, do you know what, and I think you're right there, Rodri, because obviously we get that directly from them. So I don't know. There's a lot of people that do get very, very confused. And if you are at all concerned, if you go to the NBU, the National Bee Unit, they've got very, very, very clear photographs, descriptions, instructions as to what to do if you think you've found it, seen it, and it will sort of give you all the very clear directions. But normally, usually, Yvonne, we will hear instantly if this sort of thing has happened, and we will be able to distribute. So, you know, if you guys know any more, then we'll make some contact with these people and find out. Wendy, just lastly with you, have you heard anything on that at all or not?
No, I haven't heard anything at all about that. No, and I'm in the south, so I think I probably would have heard something along the grapevine. Hopefully that it's not the case, and it's just someone seen a hornet and just assumed that it is an Asian hornet. Perhaps somebody who's not, you know, not as experienced. But you're quite right. You know, the NBU, if there was a report of that, it would go to them immediately, and they would then distribute it out to everybody. Everybody, of course, who's registered on BBase, and that is a hugely important thing to do, because it doesn't only notify you of things like the Asian hornet, but it will contact you if there is any foul brood within, I think it's about a 7-mile radius, isn't it, of where your hives are. So you know, it's a useful thing to be, certainly to be on BBase and get their support.
Okay, all right. Well, then, I think we're going to have to end there, only because I'm going to get thrown out of the room that I'm in. It's a bit of an unusual hangout today, because I'm actually not at home or in my normal office. I'm actually out in London. So I am going to have to regrettably sort of postpone this for now. But thank you for everybody who put questions forward. This is what we do. We try and do this every single month. We normally have a few more people on with us. But we try and give you as much advice as we possibly can, which is really the ultimate aim of what Beecraft is all about. Which, you know, we try and be the informed voice of British beekeeping, and this is one way in which we do it. So we hope you've enjoyed it. We hope you tell everybody about it, and we hope to see you next month. We'll announce a message pretty soon. Wendy's got a finger up, which I think means she wants to say a final word.
Say something. I just want to say that to everybody that sent in questions, we will aim to get some sort of answer out to you by email. I can put you all in a group, and everybody can hear or see the same answers. So I don't know, James, if you're going to deal with that on the questions that we haven't covered, or whether you want me to. So we'll liaise on that afterwards. But thanks to everybody, because it's been really great. I think an awful lot of the questions have come from new beekeepers who actually are subscribers to Beecraft, so thank you to those, because it's about the first time I've contacted you about the Hangouts directly, so great to receive so much interest from you.
Lovely, so thank you everyone. What we'll probably do, we'll make it as a post on the Beecraft website that we will send you the link in an email, so hopefully you'll get that in that way as well. So with that, see you next month. Thanks everyone.
Bye.